setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. Glad that you have joined me. So this is day 3 of the impeachment hearings or trials or inquiry, whatever you want to call it. Didn't go very well yesterday. I'm going to tell you why in just one moment.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
So I was watching it. I was watching the testimony yesterday of Alexander Vidman and the female. Listen, I've gotten to the point now as I analyze this of being in business for so long and also advising companies that we have an issue within the government where we have hired individuals who think that their knowledge and their expertise is much higher than their boss, and that they get very, very upset, very touchy-feely when no one takes their information and uses it. And that's what happened with Alexander Vidman. He really thought highly of himself. In his deposition, in his written remarks into the congressional testimony, it really showed that he was an individual who really thought that he was somebody, that he was the expert in Ukraine. And I think he probably got that because since his family was from that part of the world, that he knew what he was talking about. I mean, I really admire him for his service. Okay, he went to war, he served in the war. So I applaud him for that service. The problem is, he's not suited for the job that he was tasked to do. His job was as a coordinator, and it was to advise various people under the president of what was happening in Ukraine or in the region around it. So he thought he was really somebody because he advised, he wrote these preparation notes that he wanted the president to use. But listen, when you're the president, you make up your own rules. You take advice. You don't have to use that advice. You can take notes and preparation notes, but you don't have to use those notes. Because if you have a gut feeling as president of what you need to say to the other president on the phone, you go with that. You know the background. You know the issues. Listen, the president is not dumb. He knows what he needs to say to these individuals. That's why in Korea we no longer have any bombs bursting in air over Japan and other countries, because the North Korean president understands the meaning of Trump's words. And that's the same with other countries. Ukraine is a very corrupt country. Very, very corrupt. And you have to deal with that type of mentality in that country in a different way. And you have to verify upon verify upon verify that country is doing what they said they were going to do in anti-corruption before you even give them any kind of money. The president has his right to verify, to make sure that he is comfortable in giving millions of dollars to a country that has had a history of making politicians very wealthy. So Vidman felt that when he listened in on the phone call, he heard something different from everybody else. Even Volker didn't have a problem with the conversation. But you have one individual who then took that conversation, ran to the attorneys, and then what did he do? He told his brother, and he told an individual that no one can talk to, no one can bring in. He won't even admit to the name, which kind of makes it suspicious that that is the whistleblower. And then Schiff stops questioning because he doesn't want Vidman to answer certain questions regarding that individual he talked to, which we all know now. Gut feeling, suspicious feelings, based upon what was said by Schiff and Vidman, that this is a whistleblower. So we automatically know that Adam Schiff lied the other day when he said, I don't know who the whistleblower is. Lie. That's a lie. Because he just proved he knows who the whistleblower is in yesterday's testimony with Vidman. How can anybody be so stupid? I just don't get it. This is my view of what's happening in our government. Is that we have allowed to put certain people in government roles that should not be there. Because a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of authority goes way to their head, and they take it very seriously, and they think, I am somebody. I am somebody. And if anybody goes against me, you know what? I'll give them double trouble. I would suspect that we are going to find out that Vidman is really the source of all of this hearsay, rumor, and all of this whistleblower nonsense. Because he was into himself. He thought that he was the god of the Ukraine and that nobody else knew what they were talking about. Even his boss, the President of the United States. In his testimony yesterday, he stumbled around, he mumbled when asked questions. If you listen to his responses, they were not very smart responses. So you have an individual who had a little bit of power, but really not all that bright, in a government position that he should never have had. I think the government has to do a lot more weeding out of these individuals. If you look at the female's testimony who worked for Pence's office, Vice President Pence's office, she heard the same conversation and she thought, well, a little strange, but she didn't go off the board because that's what politics is about. That's what happens in politics. That's what happens with conversations between another president and another president. They think they're having these very confidential conversations, and then all it takes is just one person to leak it and to make it bigger than what it actually was. And that's where we come to Mr. Alexander Vidman. Yeah, I'm very happy that he served this nation in military. Great. But in the job that he's currently in, he should never have been there. Never have been there. Because his mentality is not the right mindset for that position. Where confidential, secretive information is being passed through. And since he has that security clearance, he feels that is his power. I'm beginning to wonder if the whole government system has a whole bunch of these types of people in it. And they're the people that are very easy to sway over. If you want to run a coup, hey, let's go with that guy. We can sway him over. In fact, Vidman had his boss, his direct report boss, had a problem with Vidman, where he found him to be untrustworthy. So the testimony of yesterday was again nothing. It was an HR issue where somebody felt that his job wasn't being acknowledged by the President of the United States. My gosh, get off your high horse and start doing your job. The President isn't going to listen to you 100% of the time, maybe not even 40% of the time, maybe not even 10% of the time. He may read what you put out, but it's up to him to make that decision on how he's going to approach that other head of state on the other end of the line. It's really embarrassing. It's very embarrassing that we have an individual like this serving the United States government that can't keep a secret, that can't keep his feelings about his job and about himself to himself. Instead, he goes around bragging about how good he is, what the responsibility he has, how much work he has to do. Well, you know what? In the frickin' real world, some of us are working double time, triple time. Some of us are working 3 and 4 jobs, 1 and 2, 3, 4 jobs. Some of us are working hard. But you know what? We go to our job, we do our job, and we go home. And then we go to the next job, and we do our job, and we go home. If we have any issues that we need to bring up, we bring them up to our boss to try to resolve it. We do not go to the public. We don't go out to the press. We don't go to our brother. We don't go to an attorney. We don't do all that sort of stuff because we're upset with our jobs. We talk directly to our bosses and we try to resolve the issue. If we have to go higher, then we go to HR and we bring it up to a higher level and go into mediation. I'm in mediation. I hear these things all the time between employees, employer, or partnership between partners and partners, board of directors and board of directors. I listen to this all the time. And it's this ego that gets in the way the majority of the time. And as a mediator, I have to bring them together and see and look at the direct problem to find a solution to resolve the conflict between the two people. So as I look at Mr. Vidman, all that I see is an individual that thinks he's better than everybody else. And those are the most dangerous kind of employee to have. He looked at everything as an order. If the president says this, then I'm going to take it as an order. The problem is that he never got a direct order from the president. He got nothing from the president. He hasn't even talked to the president of the United States. The president is the boss. The president is the person that makes the final decisions on everything when it comes to foreign relations. He works with his Secretary of State, he works with his undersecretaries, and he works with his ambassadors to get the message out of what he feels should be the foreign policy of the United States. It's not an underling of Alexander Vidman. His role is to represent the President of the United States in the United States of America, not to represent just his own views. So, in yesterday's testimony, we never got any further in trying to prove impeachment, trying to prove bribery. Each one of those individuals were asked, did you see any bribery? And they all said no. Every single person that testified yesterday came back with the same answer. Did you see any collusion? Did you see any quid pro quo? And they all said no. Each and every single one of them came back with the same answer. So Adam Schiff was not able to prove anything at all. So here we are, sitting here 3 years into this. And we still haven't been able to prove anything bad about the president. And we keep going on and on and on. And I hope that the American public is really looking to see what is really going on here. Again, I ask you this every day of these testimonies. Take your Republican hat off, take your Democrat hat off, and look at the process of what is being presented to us without any evidence. They use all the words of bribery, of treason, of all of these very dangerous words. But they have not been able to prove one iota of any of these words. No bribery, no collusion, no quid pro quo, no whatever else it's going to be. And they keep talking about the abuse of power. The abuse of power that I see are the employees who go against the president. Mr. Vidman abused his position. So as Americans, we sit here just as Americans. We're not Democrats, we're not Republicans. And we're looking at what is going on. And we're looking at these hearings as unconstitutional because they are not following the Constitution. It's unconstitutional because the president is not able to address his accusers. He's not able to present witnesses. He is unable to present evidence. Schiff and Pelosi say, well, he hasn't presented anything. Well, he hasn't had the ability to do so. So now this, once they're done with all these hearings, so with all of these witnesses, it then goes to the Judiciary Committee. If the Judiciary Committee pushes this through based on no evidence, no attachment to an illegal act, then we know beyond a shadow of a doubt, because what we see now is just a political attack. It's a coup. And if it goes into the Judiciary Committee, and if they vote on it and say yes, it's going to be a coup. This is a illegal takeover, unconstitutional takeover of the president's office. This is the most disgusting thing I have ever seen. I mean, it really is. I love the Constitution. I'm a constitutionalist. And even in my tax practice, I still have to deal with the Constitution. Because it protects the taxpayers of the United States. So I'm a constitutionalist because I really believe in how it works, and that is the foundation of all laws that are created. Every single law that the legislature or the Congress and the Senate vote on has to be in line with the Constitution. Has to be. So we stand now with no further evidence of anything wrongdoing by the President of the United States. And I say that because So far, you and I, we have not seen any evidence. We've heard words, we've heard accusations, but not one single one of those accusations has been proven. Not one single one. In the court of law, this would have been thrown out a long time ago because of all of the hearsay. None of that hearsay evidence would have been allowed. None of it. Zero. I heard this from Tom, and Tom heard it from Bob, and Bob heard it from his mother. That's hearsay. Yesterday was the very first two individuals who were even associated with that call with the president of Ukraine. One heard something totally different than the other one. The other one, Vidman, was so enthralled with his role. He was so focused in how he was participating in this that he forgot that his role was to listen to the President of the United States and to take orders from him on foreign relations. But instead, he heard something that was terrible. It was troubling. But yet there was no crime. It was troubling by one individual who felt that he was above the president. He knew more about Ukraine than the president of the United States. In fact, Vidman was not even a decision maker. He made no decisions. He presented it to his boss, and the boss made the decision. He was an underling who decided to destroy the president. There's nothing patriotic about that. I don't care where he came from. There are a lot of good people that have served our nations from other countries. This has nothing to do with him being an immigrant. It has nothing to do with it. Look at Kissinger. Kissinger was not from the United States, and he served our nation so well as Secretary of State, and has advised presidents. Even to this day, he advises presidents. But he doesn't make a big deal about where he came from. What he makes a big deal about is that he is an American and that he provides his presidents, whoever they are, with sound advice based on his experience. But he doesn't go about bragging about it. He doesn't go and tell other people about what he just said to another person. He takes his job seriously and advises the president. If Mr. Vidman really thought about his job role, then he should have done it and not overbuild on his resume. So we have another hearing today. Again, I ask you to watch these things, and when you watch the questioning, and all of the questioning that Schiff asks are all leading questions. All the questions, if they do not contain a constitutional role of asking a question and getting an answer that says, yes, we have the evidence, yes, we have documentation, yes, we have an illegal act, yes, the president was able to ask the questions of his accusers or the witnesses in today's hearing or all of these hearings. If we have no constitutional role, then we have no items for impeachment. We have nothing. Schiff has nothing. The Democrats have nothing. All that they have right now is a daily televised show trying to do damage to the President of the United States. So watch this very carefully And always ask yourself, is this constitutional? Pull out the Constitution. Read the Bill of Rights. Hold it dear to your heart, because that is what you are judged on and what I am judged on. And that's what these hearings should be judged on. Is it constitutional? Listen, if you have any comments or questions, send me a text at 818-252-5682, 818-252-5682. Thanks for all of you who have sent me questions. I've had a lot of fun answering them, and I like it to go back and forth. I like the back and forth. We're having fun, and we're having really great conversations. I'll talk with you soon. Everybody, enjoy your day, and go out. Be thankful. We're getting so close to the Thanksgiving holiday. Be thankful. Do something good for somebody who needs an extra helping hand. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT. Talk with you soon.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.